Hello! I have some cool things and stuff to show you. This is a high security Sargent and Greenleaf padlock. I have somewhat of a personal collection to one of these because I was in the Army, and at the time this was just the baddest lock I've ever seen in my life. And it was used to lock the arms room. And obviously when I was in, they didn't give me a chance to mess with it, so I always thought after I got into lockpicking I'd find one. This is not the same type of one that I saw when I was in, because this is a newer model that came out after I was already out. This is the 951. I remember the 831 because it didn't have this cutout, you couldn't take it apart. And then I do remember the 833, which was very similar to this. It was I guess this is the newer model. I'm not sure all the changes. I do know that the finish on this one is much different than the previous. The other ones were very gray, and this has like a bead blast type finish. But effectively, I think it operates the same. Came with this box has an instructions on how to service it, accessory kit, which I think is just a couple of screws for the cheapest chain I've ever seen in my life. So it's almost like you're pulling a trailer with a Ferrari with this. It's like an embarrassing, sad chain, but I took the chain off. It does attach here because this lock was actually grinding the chain away. All the galvanized was stuck on the body here. And then there's 3 keys. And I think everyone probably knows who knows this lock. 2 operator keys, which are the round head. 1 control key. It even says it on there. This is to take the lock apart. The keys are effectively the same. There is just one difference, is just this bit of metal here. The bitting is the same, but the only difference is that this piece of metal prevents you from turning the lock counterclockwise. Because this lock cylinder can go both directions, but see how it's got this cutaway here, and then there's kind of a wall of metal here. That's what this will hit right here with the operator key. So if you want to take an operator key and make a control key, if you just keep this line, grind it flat, you will have a control key. So very well made. One thing I want to talk about is I think these could be picked open, but one thing that doesn't get mentioned is there's a huge difference between picking this open on a table in a vise when you have all of this room to work with versus when these are actually mounted. This is the front of the lock. When this is properly mounted to an arms room, and again, an arms room has multiple layers of security. This is only the front door. There's another door with electronic locks, and I can tell you if you don't disable that security, the MPs will be at your door within, I think, 2 minutes or less with weapons. So, yeah, this is just one layer of security. Anyway, when this lock is mounted, it sits like this. There's no prying it away from the door to get a convenient look at the cylinder. So if you were to pick this in a normal state, you would be kneeling on concrete with no room to work. It would sit like this. You could only get tension tools, and you had no room to work on it. So nothing to take away from anyone that can pick this cylinder, but there's a huge difference between picking it when it's actually mounted versus having it on a table. And that's one thing I don't feel gets talked about enough. Also, there's a huge difference from one cylinder to the next. You can have the same lock, but you can have a huge increase in difficulty based on the pinning of the cylinder. So, let me go ahead and open it. One thing I like about this lock is it has this little bump out in the middle to tell you that it's indexed. So control key, I'll turn it, huge shackle. It feels cheap because there's so much movement here. That's one thing with the cost of this lock. It just seems like odd that this is not nice and tight. But maybe that was by design. The other thing is look how much movement is in this. And that, again, could be the design of having it absorb shock. I know you can shoot these. That will take a few rounds before they break. So that says something. Not every lock can say that. Let me open it with a control key now. This is a 6-pin Medico. So control key, you turn counterclockwise. You still open it like you would with the operator key, except as soon as you pull that shackle, you can slide it apart. Inside, this is where it gets really cool. So inside it has ceramic inserts to prevent drilling and grinding. I would really like to see how much of a difference these make. I don't think anyone's ever sacrificed one of these to show you how hard they are to drill, because I can't speak on that. Also, here's another ceramic rod. Ceramic rods protect this area. Also, there's a stamp, kind of like a serial number, and that stamp is on this half of the body too. And again, there are more ceramic inserts here, and then even one down here. Here's the cylinder down here. I can pop that out. I have to take the key out. Let me set this aside. So I have to, the key comes out, and then this just pops out like that. So really slick design. Oh, that ball comes out too. There's a little ball. So not much to it. It's very modular. Doesn't take a locksmith to be able to change one of these cylinders. Really, really cool. So this has a Medico core, and it has this protector that goes, so this again even slows it down to be drilled. I'd really like to know how much work it takes to get through one of these. I really don't want to sacrifice mine because these things are not cheap, but maybe someone that finds one without a key can break into it maybe and show that. So this is all like really hard steel. This isn't, this part of the technology behind this lock, from what I read, is that this is a specific alloy. It's not just any run-of-the-mill metal that's cast. So it's metallurgical properties for drilling, for heat, for cold. Because a lot of times too, these locks are kept not in a controlled environment. An arms room can be in a motor pool. So this lock will get weathered, and that's the other thing, is picking a weathered lock is not the same as picking a lock that's smooth operating, because you got pins that stick, and you know, it's yeah, with all the hot, cold, hot climate, humidity, all plays a factor in trying to open one of these locks. This is the part, this is really what does all the work. So the core engages with this. This is what allows the double ball to drop in and the lock to be opened. You know, the balls drop in, shackle comes up, and you can open the lock. And it's really well designed. Even this is indexed, so you know how to put this on correctly. See how this is a cutout here? I love when things are made for simple, that intuitive design, so that anyone can pick it up, learn it, and you're a homebrew locksmith. I love that. So let me go ahead and reassemble. Let's see if I get a better non-focused. Yep, ceramic inserts. I don't know if those go the whole body or if they just only travel a certain way. But really cool design. I could put this in first, so this is a little tricky. So it just slides in. But this will come off like really easy, so hold on. This is actually the hardest part, is not dropping this. Okay, I got it. And then it just slides in. And then you can see it's all the way flush. So from here, you drop in your ball, which goes right there. This doodad, I don't know the proper name, but it just sits on top and it keeps the ball in. And the key, the control key has to be in order to reassemble the lock. So that'll sit down, and then you can take the upper body and it just slides together. It just rides on this edge. And you have to lock it, and then you can take the control key out. So really cool design. More or less, it's a nice collector's piece. I don't have anything strong enough where the door would actually be the weakest part than the lock. So this is more just a had-to-have item because I think it's cool, a lot of technology, and I'm pretty sure not many people would argue that this is one of the best locks ever made, you know, even to this day when it comes to ruggedness, security. Obviously, no lock is 100%, and it never will be, but still just a really cool piece and great for any type of lock picker or hardware tool collector. The Sargent and Greenleaf 951.